back to Idaho Fabricator. Today, something totally different in the shop today. You know, my wife's been restoring a trunk in our house, and the trunk doesn't have any hinges on it. So I spent copious amounts of time on Amazon and eBay looking for what I thought would be really cool, gnarly looking hinges for a trunk. And every time I found one, I'd say, "Hey, sweetheart, what do you think of this?" And she would just, boom, 2 thumbs down. So what's a guy to do? Well, I'm going to build a hinge. I've never built a hinge before, but I think we can do it today. And so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to call this episode Trunk Hinge. And so let's get started. I did want to mention really quickly, I save all of my scrap metal, the tubings, everything, all the pieces that I cut off. I just throw them into the mail carton there, and I save them. And they really come in handy when there's times when, well, like today I need to make a trunk hinge. So I just happen to have some 2-inch material in there, and I went in the house just to make sure that it was the right width. Checked with my wife, and turns out she thought 2-inch looked great. She liked the thickness. This is 3/16. It's pretty beefy for a trunk hinge, but it's the look she wanted. So that's what we're going to do. I had this piece here, which turned out to be 5 inches. It's like a little over, but perfect. And then I had this piece here that I had in my scrap bin, and they put a measuring ruler to it, and it looks like 12.5 inches. So that'll look good. So I'll have I can get 2 5-inch pieces out of this. And then I got 7 inch, so I can get my 2 3-inch pieces out of the backside. So that'll work out really good. So that'll take care of the strap parts. And then I got a piece of this tubing that was in my scrap bin. And this is called DOM tubing. If you've never heard of it before, it stands for drawn on a mandrel. And what that means is they do it in a way that eliminates the weld seam. And so I got a piece of pipe here just to show you. It's a larger pipe, but you can see here the weld seam. And this would get in the way if you wanted to have a situation where I wanted a pin to fit inside. So this, like, here's a couple pieces of pipe. This is DOM tubing. And see how nicely it fits in there because there's no weld seam. You could, I don't know, make adjustable jack stands with this, drill some holes, just all kinds of opportunities. But I just thought I wanted to share that with you, what drawn on a mandrel was, so that if you're working on a project, you'll know what to ask for when you go to the steel store. So it's really handy stuff. And the reason I'm using this tubing it's just because it's what I had. And when I put it next to the hinge material, and I hold it up there, it looks right. You know, the scale. I like the way it looks. I think it's balanced, and I think it's going to make a nice looking hinge. What I'm going to do on this hinge is the way I'm going to make it is I'm going to cut this tubing into 3 rings. And I'm going to weld the 2 outside rings to the top strap. And then the back strap, the center ring, I'm going to weld to that. And when I weld it together, I'll run this 3/8 through the center of it. And that'll hold the rings all in alignment when I weld it together. So that way when I finish it, the hinge will actually work like a hinge is supposed to work. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of rough cut this stuff in sections, and then when we come back, we're going to start putting this hinge together. So see you in a bit. All right, well, I got these pieces cut. I got 2 pieces 3-inch, 2 pieces 5-inch, and I cut a couple of the pieces of tubing already. What I was kind of looking at when I was figuring this out, it looked to me like if I put this, it seemed to me like the single one should be wider than the ends. I don't know, it just seemed to look better that way. So I made this one 1 inch. This is 1 inch long. This is 2 inch. So I'm going to need 2 pieces, probably a little less than ½ inch, because you know there has to be a little bit of room for it to do its thing. So I cut the 2 1 inch. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this tubing here, and I'm going to leave it just a little bit. I'm going to cut just a little bit, show the line on the cuts. In fact, yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay, so let's go over here. Try out my new table. Works pretty cool. I'm liking it. I haven't made the stand for it yet, but this is going to be the base for it. And then I'm going to put a piece of pipe on it. And I'm thinking brake drum for the floor. And I'm going to put a switch on the stand so I don't have to keep plugging it in and out. Here we go. And I'm just going to leave the line. Okay, so what I did was I took a piece of steel, clamped it on the table here of my belt sander, and I'm just going to square up this end that I just cut. That way, when I make the next cut, I can make sure that the ends are square. So here we go. So you can see here it's kind of rough and irregular. Not yet, almost. Almost. There we go. Then I'll just round the edge a little bit. Okay? And let's go ahead and make 3 more cuts. And then as long as I got this here, remember I showed you my deburring tool. And so the inside of this edge is really sharp, so I'm just going to run the deburring tool inside of it. And see how it nicely rounds the edge? So again, you got to get these. These really work good. So remember, it's not rocket science. We're just making a hinge. And over here. So the idea is, take off those. I can hear better without those on there. So we're going to have the bigger tube in the middle, and then the other tube's on the edge. So it'll be something like that, okay? And then the other part of the hinge. So I'm going to weld these little ones to this one. It doesn't really matter, I guess, which one goes to which. But I think that the smaller ones, they should be on the top hinge to keep it so it doesn't want to do that so much. Again, I'm not an expert hinge builder, but that just seems to be the reasonable way to do it. So that's the way we're going to do it. So anyway, the other one just kind of fits together. Oops, got a little... deburr the edge of that a little bit so that just run a couple of turns in there with this deburring tool, and then I'll do these because I just ground them. They got a nice sharp edge, and we don't want it to hang up on the pin as we're putting it together. So okay, so little one first, big one. All right, that's kind of the plan. Now before I weld this thing up, I want to go ahead and drill the holes and kind of do some shaping and whatnot first, because it'll be a lot easier than when the hinge is all put together. And so I got to decide the hole spacing. So I got boom, boom, boom. I think it'll look nice. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark these, line them all up on both pieces, center punch them, drill the holes, and then we're going to weld this hinge together, and my wife's going to be happy, and I think you've all heard this before. Happy wife, happy life. So here we go. I'm going to, let's start measuring and marking these up. All right. There we go. I'm going to mark these, center punch them for the drill press. Always a good idea to center punch. And let's drill some holes. All right. So we're going to head over to the drill press here. Turn my light on. And I'm going to do a 3/16 hole. I know that this is a 3/16 bit because I use it a lot. But if you didn't know it, you could use the hole gauge that I showed you a couple episodes ago. And that would line you up with that. So let's go ahead and tighten this up. Always a good idea to do it on multiple sides to make sure you get it really centered. Okay. I'm gonna throw it in here because I've had this stuff spin around on me before, and man, it's kind of spooky when it takes off. I'm gonna raise this table up a little bit. And I grab some cutting oil. Put a little bit of cutting oil in there. Drill some holes. I try and ease the bit down through the material, especially when it's just ready to go through. And I've discovered that if I do that, it really almost eliminates the blowout on the other end. So here's the other one there. Sometimes if you're in a hurry and you just punch the drill bit right through, you get a lot of, okay, I got all those holes drilled, same as the first ones, and check it out, they're all exactly the same, pretty cool. So now, what I'm going to do is take this drill bit out, and we're going to countersink these holes, so those, I can't remember where I put the countersink. It's in one of these secret drawers here. What the heck? Oh, there it is. It's always in the top drawer. Okay, so these are pretty handy. It's this is a 3-flute countersunk. Makes a pretty nice chamfer. And I'm going to roll this into the, slide that up in there. Give it a little tight on this one. A little tightening on that one. Good to go. So we're going to chamfer all these pieces of steel here. And I usually keep a block of wood over there so that I can put this up. See what I'm doing. Kind of holds it flat. And anyway, here we go. We're gonna little stuff on there. So here we go. We got countersunk. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead countersink these other ones, and I'll be right back. Stay tuned. Okay, I got those holes chamfered, and check it out. They look pretty good. All right, all identical. Here's how it's going to lay out. These are going to lay on here like so. And this is going to go this way. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. And I'm going to round this edge over here and just break this edge over here. Not like, doesn't have to be super rounded. So I'm going to do that. And then this has got all this mill scale on it, this dark gray stuff. And so I'm going to it's really hard to get off. So I'm going to take it over to the blast cabinet in a little bit and blast it off so that it'll just make it better for welding. Gets me a better weld joint and cleaner looking appearance. So. I love making spark shows. In fact, if you could bottle cologne that smells like metal, you could sell. Yeah, it smells good. Oh, these are safety glasses. So this is totally OSHA approved right now. Love hearing, and wow, that is pretty close. But here's something else I like to do. So I come over here, actually, I'm going to use a pair of vice grips. Here we go. So I'm going to take a pair of vice grips, hold these two together, get these adjusted, set them on the bench so that everything lines up. Get them nice and tight. Then I'm going to head back over to the grinder and sand them all together so both pieces will match. I think we're getting pretty close to firing up the welder. In fact, I think we are close. So I'm going to get the welder set up and get it all ready to go, and then when we come back, we're gonna put these hinges together. So I'll see you in a little bit. All right, welcome back. I got the parts all cleaned up. I went over to the blast cabinet and took all the mill scale off. Mill scale and TIG welding don't work together. There's too much contamination in the weld. So. Theoretically, that should work like a hinge, so let's find out. Ooh, baby, that is smoking hot. Little bit of finish work on. And we'll have some hinges. So let's measure this pin here, get it just inside that, not all the way, but a little bit, and I'll mark it here and put an X on the part that I'm not keeping. Trim it up on the sander just a little bit. Put a little bevel on the edge so I can get some good penetration when I weld it in. Should fit. Been professionally built. Yeah. That's the way, I like it. Needs to be a little shorter, I think. So, back to the sander. Ready to weld this. Yeah, that's the way. Okay, so get stuff out of the way and I'm just going to weld that on there and weld that, flip them over, weld the other side, and we'll be looking good. So here we go. All right. Okay, let's see if we can. There. we go. Oh, probably should turn the welder on. Okay. And what I'll do is I'm going to go over to the sander and kiss those edges a little bit, flatten them out, and then it should look pretty good. So let's go do that. Turn that noise maker off. And good. There's one. You know, because it's going to be, I'm guessing that my wife's going to want this all looking like it's been on a castle somewhere in medieval England or someplace. So I won't make it perfect because that'll give it some patina, some character. So anyway, one of them sanded, and let me get the other one done. Yeah. Turned out pretty good, and it's my first hinge I've ever made, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to put my welded stuff away, and then I'm gonna, I guess, figure out how I'm gonna age these things. I'm thinking that maybe big bulking hand and beating on it might do it. I won't subject you guys to all that racket, but I'll figure it out, and next time when we come back, these are going to be looking like they came off of an old castle in England, and I have a feeling I'm going to have to rust these, so I'm probably going to take some hydrogen peroxide, some white vinegar, soak these in it. They're bare metal, and they'll rust up like almost immediately. So then when I have the right amount of rust, the look to it, I think I'm going to just shoot it with some matte clear lacquer and install them on the trunk. So I will see you in a little bit. I'm going to age these, and we'll be back. Hi, welcome back. I went in and talked to my wife about, you know, if she wanted these things medieval look, and she said no, but she does want them rusted. And I did find out something when I went in. It turns out that that hole that I put up here on the hinge was right at the seam of the lid and the bottom of the trunk. So I just filled it in. So I didn't film that. It's basic stuff. You just fill in the hole, grind it smooth. So anyway, I'm going to rust these hinges up. Hydrogen peroxide, 2 ounces of hydrogen peroxide, some salt, and a little bit of white vinegar. So let's see what this does. No, that's looking more like what I want. All that shiny metal's turning to rust. Kind of cool. I might be onto something here. I don't know if I'm going to do my hood and my truck with it, but it's kind of cool. So, I think I'm just going to set it on my chair because that'll be okay. I'm going to spray this one down a little bit. Boy, that's fast. Man, you could just hurt somebody's day if you carry around one of these bottles of spray. Alright, so some of these areas, I guess you can kind of rub it in there too, I'm guessing. Not being an expert at antiquing metal, we'll see how this works. according to my copious amounts of research on YouTube, I'm supposed to let this dry overnight, and then if you need more, you know, want the rust to look a little darker, give another application. So I'm going to let this sit overnight. Tomorrow we're going to hit it again and see how it looks in the morning. So I'll see you tomorrow. Come back. It's the next day. I rusted those hinges. I think you can see there they look pretty rusty and crusty, and I got 2 thumbs up from my wife, so I'm happy. Anyway, that's the finished product. Be sure and like, share, and subscribe, because I got more action-packed videos coming up.